Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Chandra and I make videos about reading, writing, and all things books. Today's video is 300 Things, Year 2 Update. This is my second year of doing 300 things, and I wanted to share a little bit of what I'm going to be doing moving forward, going from year 1 to year 2. I did pull a lot initially when I was transitioning from year 1 to year 2. I pulled a lot from my original goals. I started to section it off and break it down. So I'm going to be... He's just trying to eat stuff on my desk. He doesn't actually love me. Okay, thing 1. I'm comparing year 1 and year 2. Initially, when I did the first year, going into the second year, I just broke down the sections where I'd completed the most, and I tried to translate that into the second set, like what I really focused on for year 2. And that worked really well, but one thing I have noticed is that I haven't completely grouped my goals in a way that makes sense to me. So I don't have all my financial goals in the same section. I don't have all of my writing goals in the same section. I don't have all of my reading goals in the same section. And it's starting to get a little bit messy or easy to accidentally duplicate a goal and then have to go back and be like, no, I gotta put in another one because that's not the right goal. And I want to start to clean that up and really focus down, especially since this is going to be year 3. So that's going to be the first thing that I do for my 300 things, is to go through year 1 and 2, find any pieces from year 1 that I'm like, oh, I missed that for year 2, and I want to kind of refine that and pull this over. And the other part would be going in and grouping things more systematically and in a way that makes more sense to me. Number 2. I want to note more changes in the list. Things that I had for year 1 and 2 maybe, and maybe carrying them a step further, or things that I've accomplished that don't need to go back on the list because they're done and not like some things will be goals every year, like my reading goals, or how much I'm writing, but then I may not need to have writing, like I had write 4 books in a year is one of my goals for 2021. I don't need to put that on my list for 2022 because I'm not trying to write 4 books in a year. I want to do 3. So that's going to be my max on the list, and that's going to be a change. But the reason that I'm making that change is because I've already tried it and I figured out what worked and what didn't work for me, so now I'm adjusting. So I kind of want to make those little notes for myself so I can see, okay, these are the things I've tried and this is how it worked. This I tried, this is how it worked. Kind of like that. Number 3, I was adding things and not realizing they were already done. So that would look like I think I put on my goals list that I wanted to lose 5 pounds. I'd already lost 5 pounds. So before I put things on my list, I maybe need to measure and see where I'm at, go from there. So maybe the goal is going to be a little bit more of a challenge because I measure before I set the goal specifically. And that's something that I hadn't necessarily done. But like I said, this is going into year number 3 of this process. So it's getting more and more precise, which is really helpful. But also there's something from like, that seems really obvious. This is my 3rd year of actually setting goals. So we'll see. Number 4, realizing something should have been on the list. This kind of feeds back into already having accomplished a goal and then not realizing it. But part of it would be, I've already started reading a lot of books and I wanted to read 5 Westerns, but I didn't put it on my list early enough so that I actually had time to get it done. So I just finished my list of 300 things. I think it was last month, maybe the month before, so well into the 3rd quarter, which is great because year 1 I only got 212 things on the list. So year 2 I've actually completed the 300 things on the list, but I'd like to get it done a little bit quicker next time, which I think will be easier because the goals are getting more specific. So I'll be setting goals in fewer categories, less generalized, and I will be able to break all of those down pretty quickly and put them into each section. So I'm hoping to have all of my goals done, all 300 things done in the first quarter, so that gives me a lot of time to actually work on all of them versus just having to like scramble to fill in everything before the end of the year. Number 5, realizing different ways to break the goal down. This has been something that's gotten easier for me because this is the second year. Things that are becoming more obvious, I think in the previous video I talked about, the more you set goals, the easier it is to make them more specific. And that really applies here because as I'm using reading as an example because I think it's one of the cleanest examples that I can set. Initially, my goal has been just to read 52 books. Now I'm starting to break it down by what genre I want to read and being specific about that because I've read enough to know what genres I'm not super familiar with and which ones I'm not super comfortable with. And then also to get more into subgenre because that's where I'm starting to put more of my focus, is figuring out which subgenres I'm most interested in, which ones I end up writing from, and generally familiarizing myself with all genres as well, even if they're not my specific favorite, but just to have not a vague understanding, just to have a general understanding of as many genres as possible, to have the awareness around their existence. That's part of my reading goal right now. To be more specific on that specific area, I would then make a list of maybe any authors that I want to check out in those genres, or how many books in those genres I want to read, to really break it down like that and get a lot more specific than I have been in the past. That's another thing that I really like to do this year. Number 6, I have some accomplishments on my 300 things that are really small goals, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, that's part of the point, right? To make the goals bite-sized pieces, so a lot of the goals will be small, but I'd also like to recognize the larger things that I've achieved over the year, even though they didn't necessarily stick out to me at the time. I've accomplished some really big things, and it's not necessarily obvious to me at the time that I accomplished it what a big deal it is. So I'd like to make a little bit of a celebration of the things that I've accomplished. Number 7, what were the smallest goals? I want to examine that and see, even there may be some really small goals that I didn't accomplish, but then look at that compared to the small ones that I did accomplish and figure out what the differences are there. What's stopping me from doing these other really small achievable goals? Is it that I'm not actually interested in it? Or, what does that mean? I just want to analyze it a little bit, take a little bit of time to think about it, whether or not I do anything with the information, just to be aware of it and to be conscious. Number 8, how many of them actually applied to writing? I want to look at my goals and see, like I said, I want to group them more specifically, but I want to see exactly how many goals I set that were around reading and writing, and then compare that to the overall goals and see how focused I am on my writing. I think that'd be interesting to just break it down and have a general understanding of where I am with that. The next thing would be number 10. What is going on the list for next year? Like I said, I want to break those down into categories. I want to get a lot more specific. I want to look at the first year and see if there's anything on there that I missed for 2021 and see if there's anything else that needs to be moved over. I want to get really clear about that, really specific, and if there's stuff on there that I think I need to bring back on to evaluate why it didn't make on 2021's list, make a plan around those, because I think a lot of the goals from year 1 needed to be more specific, and by giving them another shot, I can break them down more specifically because I've gotten better at that. Number 10, what did I not attempt and why? I want to look at any goals on my list from 2021 that I didn't even start on, that I didn't even scratch the surface of, that I wasn't working towards anyway. And I want to figure out why it was on my list in the first place, and then why didn't I make any effort towards it? Is it something that I didn't actually want to do, or is there something specific that's blocking me from it? And getting clear about that so I can move those things off my list or make a better plan so I can actually accomplish them. Number 11, I've gotten better at using my Clever Fox Planner Pro, which is the planner that I decided to get. If you would like to see the other ones I compared it to, I have a video for that. And if you would like to see the reason that I specifically chose the Clever Fox Planner Pro, I also have a video for that, which is a general review, because last year was the first year that I used it, so this is my second year using the Clever Fox Planner. That being said, I used it for a full year and I made a lot of progress, but there's some features in it that I'd like to get a little bit more clear about. There's the mind mapping pages. I don't think I took full advantage of those initially. The quarterly goals, I think I'd like to have better strategy for that based off of my 300 things. There's some bigger goals that I could do from 300 things that I pull onto my quarterly goals, and I'd like to be a little more intentional about that. I think this year I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants when I would put in my quarterly goals, and I wasn't necessarily looking at my overarching goals to see, okay, is this something I can get done in a quarter? Is this something that I'm supposed to get done in this quarter? And planning more around the rewards. That's something that I started to do, but I wasn't great at. And as far as the achievableness, as far as my ability to achieve these specific goals, I didn't always pick quarterly goals that aligned with that. And then I didn't always make my goals, so I either didn't get all of the rewards that I'd set for myself, or I didn't have a specific time and place at which to reward myself when I achieved those goals. So I want to be a little bit more precise about that and making sure that when I accomplish something, not only do I feel like I accomplished something, but I also make the time to reward myself. Number 12, confusing goals. What do they look like? Sometimes it's hard to tell that the goal you've set is confusing until you get to the end of it and you're like, I don't feel like I accomplished anything. I want to be more aware of that and maybe journal a little bit around the goals that I get to the end of and I'm like, I don't feel like I accomplished anything, and dig into why I don't feel like I accomplished anything a little bit. One of the big things that I've changed over this last quarter, I started budgeting. This is my 3rd month budgeting, and I realized that I didn't have enough, I want to say like restriction. I didn't have enough structure around my budget, which meant that nothing felt like a reward. Because if I wanted something, I just got it. And then when you try to reward yourself, but you don't ever have to be patient for anything, rewards don't feel like rewards. So that's been a change, just to be more specific of, yes, you can have this. You can have it anytime you want. But we are not going to get it until we accomplish X, Y, Z. That's practice for me. I'm not quite there yet. The other problem that I had was I would either get myself the reward before I'd actually achieved the thing, or I would achieve the thing and then not actually set aside time, say, on X date you achieved this, now Y, you get to go here and do this. I wasn't precise about that. It would be like, I guess a couple weeks ago you did a thing and you promised yourself that you were going to do this, so I guess we'll do that tonight. I need to be specific, okay? You accomplished this goal. A week from today, you're going to go do this, and that's your reward. Even letting there be a little anticipation, I think, is good, but actually setting a date with myself for the reward to happen is important. I've not done that before. 2022, here we go. So that's a review of the changes that'll be coming from my 300 things. This is rolling into my 3rd year of doing 300 things. We'll see how it goes. It's been an amazing journey so far. If you'd like to check that out, I've got another video from year 1. So yeah, we're rolling, this is year 2. We're rolling into year 3 for 2022. I hope this video was I hope this video is helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.